three quick ones on notice with regard to my first set of questions around the 24th of January 2023 statement. I asked a few already, but can I ask also what was your response to the receipt of the independent review? Any correspondence to Diversa and the reviewer? Any emails internally regarding Diversa, and what action did you take after considering the independent review? So those for that. Going back to that, noting that you talked about highly coordinated response with ASIC, I note that in October 2023 there was a federal court ruling involving Diversa. ASIC had taken it to court in 2021 over whether it had breached its duties as a trustee in relation to a representative who breached financial service laws. In that matter, ASIC were unsuccessful. We know they very, very rarely bring, give serious consideration to any matters that they might bring. So that's happening. You're talking to ASIC. You've already put Diversa licence conditions in place in January of 2023. You've also issued the super performance review in August. You've expressed concerns about the platform. And then on top of that, there's this federal court ruling in which ASIC's taken legal action. So my question is, given all of that, what actions did APRA take at that period of time?
So, Senator, I'm going to ask my colleague to give you some information, but I do have to point out that my comments about coordination with APRA were made in the later context of SHIELD.
Coordination with ASIC, you mean?
ASIC, yes,
yeah.
Of SHIELD and First Guardian. So you're taking a comment that I made in relation to something and applying it to something else. So I just need to correct that.
Okay.
Senator, I might make probably 4 comments, and I've reflected on your earlier questions, and I'm going to try and answer some of those, again, mindful of our secrecy obligations. So I mentioned in broad terms what we focus on when we supervise super funds. Yeah. In relation to the media release that you referred to, so the work we did in 2022 focused on the second and third components that I mentioned, so operational resilience and member outcomes. So specifically product performance and fees. So that's clearly articulated in the media release. In 2023, APRA reviewed its investment governance standards and we updated those. We then conducted a review across all trustees in the industry to assess their adherence to those uplifted standards.
So where did Diversa fall in that?
So I can't comment on, so I mentioned the secrecy provisions that I'm bound by, Senator, so I'll make some broad comments and then...
Can I get you to give me the detail of the broader stuff on notice, because I'm limited for time?
Yep.
It's Diversa that I really need to know about.
And I can't comment on specific entities, Senator, unless we're already in the public domain, but I'll just make 2 more points. You did mention the performance test. In 2023, we tested trustee-directed choice products for the first time. We got insight from that. We got insight from our broad review. Mr Lonsdale mentioned the valuations and liquidity assessment we performed across all trustees. We also got insights from that. All of those insights informed the design of the detailed assessment that we've just conducted on the top 10 platform trustees. And that particular review was specifically targeted at assessing investment governance capability. So you mentioned Diversa's licence conditions. They were specifically not focused on that. They were focused on operational resilience and member outcomes.
Okay. So what I don't understand, for ordinary people who are caught up in this and investing, they think that you're looking over this sector. You tell me that you're interacting with ASIC and that together you're providing a secure system. But you can't tell me anything about Diversa, but you do know that there were problems there already. That's a matter of public record. You responded to that. ASIC had actually started taking actions against some of the First Guardian and SHIELD funds and their promoters as early as 2022. I want to assume that you must have known something about that. And if you didn't, I would say that that is a serious failing. The 15th of August, they banned the financial service director. They follow up on the 7th of February 24 to put stop orders on Shield Master Fund. They freeze the assets. ASIC also freeze the assets of the First Guardian Master Fund and its director. What was APRA doing all this time in its highly coordinated work with ASIC? Were you completely oblivious to what was happening with First Guardian and Shield?
Senator, we were not completely oblivious because as those things started to develop, we were taking our own regulatory action.
That's what I want to know. Like, what did you actually do?
Well, the first thing we did when we became aware of the Macquarie Investment Management and Shield matter
Which is when?
I think I mentioned it earlier. It was December 23.
Yep.
So when we were first aware of that, we required Macquarie to have an independent report. When we got that independent report, we shared it with ASIC, and that informed their ongoing work.
And did you ask the same of Net Wealth, Diversa and Equity Trust? And if not, why not?
So the next one we became aware of, you're quite right, was First Guardian. And in that context, that's where we had extensive discussion with ASIC about letting them take the lead on the enforcement actions they were looking into and preparing.
Okay, well, I just want to table two things. One is the document that I was just referring to, and finally, if I can, table the chronology that ASIC provided to the Parliamentary Joint Committee to give you an idea of the kind of response that I'd like to understand what APRA's action were, particularly with regard to Diversa. I think the scale of this demands that we actually get that information. And
Senator O'Neill, can I ask you to wind up?
last question. So I note that APRA is actually operating a surplus in the last financial year. Do you believe that sufficient resourcing has been provided to monitoring for-profit retail superannuation trustees, which I understand is a growing cohort within your area of regulation?
Senator, thanks for your question.
That's
you did run
last one,
an
thanks.
operating surplus. I think what's important to note about the operating surplus is that there's a number of factors that feed into that surplus that do go to money that cannot be repurposed for other things and over collection of revenue as well, and that makes up the vast bulk of the surplus that we generate. The actual residual is a very small amount. I can assure you, Senator, that our supervisory frontline staff are fully employed on all the priorities that we need to look at, including the issues that you've been asking us about.
So on the basis of that response, I will hope to get a whole lot more information about Diversa.
We're very happy to come back, Senator, and give you on notice what we can give you with the constraint of the secrecy provisions, but we will do our best to come back.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.